Ladies and gentlemen,
and now for something completely different.
You know, when you look at a bank statement, there's this underlying comfort in the numbers.
Yeah, it feels concrete.
Exactly. Like you have $10 in the bank, the screen says $10. It's this neat mathematical reflection of reality. But what happens when that mirror just completely shatters?
That is the big question.
Right. So today, we're diving into this exploration into the source material. Specifically, a really intense geopolitical and economic newsletter from August 3, 2026.
Yeah, it's called Cosmopolitica.
Yes, and it argues that our entire global financial ledger is currently, breaking apart. They call it the mirror of bankruptcy.
And I think we should just set the stage here because we are stepping into some really heavy territory today.
Definitely.
The author predicts a massive Western decline and, well, a total Eastern dominance of global resources. And just as a quick baseline rule for this exploration, we aren't here to endorse these views or, take sides.
Right. No matter where you fall on the political spectrum, we are strictly serving as neutral guides here.
Exactly. We're just here to neutrally unpack the data and the arguments the author presents about this massive global financial reledgering.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with this crazy collision between paper money and physical reality.
Yeah, the macro level.
Right. The author introduces this concept they call Necker syndrome. Basically, they're arguing that central banks are like faking the cash register to prevent a total panic in the bond market.
Which is a bold claim.
Super bold. Because on paper, official consumer inflation in the U.S. and the Eurozone is supposedly hovering at this safe 2.8%.
But if you look at the physical markets, the story is entirely different.
Completely different. Base industrial metals, like copper and aluminum, they spiked 14.2% in just 1 week.
And physical gold broke historic ceilings. It neared, $2,684.50 an ounce?
Yeah, exactly. Reading this, it honestly instantly made me think of a game of Monopoly.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. Like imagine you're playing, but you suddenly realize the bank is secretly changing the rules. They're just printing infinite paper money to keep the game going.
Yeah, the paper loses all its meaning.
Exactly. So what do? You stop caring about the paper bills, and you just start hoarding the physical metal game pieces. The little dog, the top hat. You want anything you can actually hold in your hand.
And what's fascinating here is that the newsletter views that transition from paper to physical as something that is actively happening globally right now.
Like with the petrodollar.
Exactly. They point specifically to the death of the petrodollar. BRICS plus energy trade using the US dollar has plummeted to a historic low of 38.4%.
Wow, under 40%. That's huge.
It is. But even more structural is what China and Saudi Arabia are doing. They've moved 65% of their trade to direct settlement.
Wait, using their own currencies?
Yes, using the digital yuan, the ECNY, and the Saudi rial via a platform called mBridge.
And mBridge is the thing that completely bypasses the traditional SWIFT banking system, right?
That is the core mechanism, yeah.
So they aren't using the Western network to verify their transactions at all?
Not at all. They're freezing out Western oversight entirely. It's a direct peer-to-peer digital currency platform for central banks.
That is wild.
The author views this as the petrodollar trap closing. They argue this isn't just some currency fluctuation, it's a structural revocation of Washington's ability to just print unbacked paper to buy real physical wealth.
So the power is shifting permanently to whoever holds the actual resources.
Precisely.
Well, if these Eastern nations are successfully hoarding physical commodities and, refusing paper dollars, that creates an immediate existential crisis for regions that rely entirely on buying those resources with paper.
Which brings us straight to Europe.
Exactly. The European energy crisis. We're moving from the abstract world of money to the ultimate physical asset, which is energy.
And the numbers coming out of European industry really reflect that physical squeeze. I mean, European TTF gas prices jumped 11.8%, pushing up to 42 euros per megawatt hour.
And that just crushes manufacturing, right?
Completely. German heavy industry electricity costs rose 16%. And because of this, the BASF conglomerate permanently shut down 2 more plants in Ludwigshafen.
Oh, wow. So they're just closing up shop.
Yeah. And the author uses a really interesting metric here called the KES, or the Energy Sovereignty Coefficient, to explain why this is happening. They give Germany a score of 0.26.
Okay, wait, I need to ask, how is that actually calculated? What does a KES score of 0.26 practically mean for a country?
So a KES of 1.0 represents total thermodynamic self-sufficiency.
Meaning they produce enough physical energy to power all their own needs.
Right. So at 0.26, Germany is producing barely a quarter of what it actually needs to survive industrially.
That's terrifying for an industrial powerhouse.
It is. And the author's philosophy here is all about the absolute triumph of physics over financial alchemy.
Physics over finance.
Exactly. The idea is that bureaucrats in Brussels can look at screens showing trillions of digital euros all day, but without a KES over 1.0, those euros cannot physically keep the lights on. The physical reality of energy always wins.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the author then ties this industrial collapse directly to global maritime conflicts.
The shipping lanes.
Yeah. We see transport through the Red Sea dropping by a staggering 72%. And Lloyd's war risk insurance for Western cargo ships spiked over 4.5% of the cargo's value.
It's a massive tax on physical trade.
It really is. But I do have to push back a little here on the author's framing. Are they seriously suggesting that all these massive geopolitical conflicts are literally just a controlled smokescreen?
You mean the idea of the quote-unquote architects?
Yeah, like a coordinated distraction to just transfer assets? That sounds intense.
It is intense, but yes, the author is actually suggesting exactly that.
Really?
Yeah. Their logic is that global elites know the paper money system is ending. So they are intentionally restricting shipping lanes like the Red Sea to slowly throttle the global economy.
So they're doing it on purpose to prevent a sudden crash.
That's the argument. By heavily taxing and slowing down physical trade through engineered chaos, they can perform this controlled demolition of the system. It lets them transfer assets without letting the whole thing blow up overnight.
Wow. So if the global economy is being intentionally throttled and the West is losing its industrial core, the periphery of the economy naturally gets crushed.
Always.
And the newsletter uses the Balkans as this really grim micro case study to show what this looks like on the ground.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it perfectly illustrates the author's point about physical extraction versus paper debt.
Yeah, let's look at Serbia. On paper, their public debt looks relatively stable against GDP.
Right, the numbers look okay.
But in reality, every 11th dinar collected in taxes, so 8.9% of real budget revenue, goes straight to paying interest to foreign bankers.
While the physical resources leave the country.
Exactly. Foreign-owned gold and copper mines give back less than 2.5% of the extracted value to the Serbian state.
It's extraction in the truest sense, and the domino effect continues right into Croatia.
Right, because their import-export coverage fell to 54.2%.
And practically 100% of their VAT revenue relies entirely on foreign tourists.
Which is so dangerous. Tourism is a luxury service.
Exactly. The author's point is that if the Western middle class gets poorer due to this inflation we talked about and they stop traveling,
then Croatia has no physical industry like manufacturing or agriculture to fall back on to pay its debts.
Precisely. Its economy is exposed as completely insolvent.
And then there's Bosnia and Herzegovina. The numbers there are just bleak. Pension deficits crossed 42%.
And Republika Srpska is facing what the author calls technical bankruptcy.
Meaning they're just delaying social payments because they literally don't have the cash. The worker-to-pensioner ratio is stuck at a disastrous 1.1 to 1.
Which really highlights the mathematical finality of this whole argument.
Yeah, it's just unsustainable.
These are regions that patched up failing intergenerational contracts with foreign loans. And the author uses this incredibly dark phrase for it, the terminal phase of debt anesthesia.
That is such a chilling phrase. Debt anesthesia.
It is, because when the global credit dries up and that anesthesia wears off, the local populations essentially become cheap labor in their own homes.
While foreign creditors legally repossess everything of actual value.
Exactly. The physical assets, the forests, the water, the real estate.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Because Cosmopolitica predicts that as this labor market spiral accelerates, we could see up to a 40 to 50% drop in employment.
Leading to a total geometric death spiral.
Yeah, it is a profoundly intense, unyielding perspective on the future.
But, you know, the author does offer a survival strategy. Oh, right, the internal separation concept.
Yes. They argue that to survive, People need to actively close their accounts with the, quote, bad money system and anchor their survival back to physics.
Meaning what exactly? Going off the grid?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Relying on your own land, your own physical labor, and your immediate local micro-community.
Wow.
And honestly, whether or not you buy into the sweeping geopolitical predictions, this emphasis on tangible skills and local resilience is a really compelling thought experiment.
It really is. It strips away the digital illusion entirely and forces you to ask, what can you actually do with your own two hands?
This raises an important question, actually, one that wasn't explicitly asked in the text but naturally follows all this.
What's that?
If global wealth is truly transferring from financial ledgers into physical reality, how resilient is your personal energy sovereignty coefficient?
Oh, that's a great way to frame it. Right. If the entire global service economy decoupled from its physical resource-based foundation tomorrow, what tangible physical value would your current skills provide to your immediate community?
Are your skills just paper on a ledger, or are they a physical asset? That's definitely something to think about.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration into the Cosmopolitica newsletter. Keep questioning the numbers, keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time.